Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we're going to discuss the 2023 original book by Rick Riordan, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Chalice of the Gods. Came out September of 23. September or October of 23? September of 23. So, Uncle Rick has made another Percy Jackson book. So this is the 6th Percy Jackson book, but it's really the 35th, 36th, 40th book in the franchise. Percy Jackson has a many books, the Camp Half-Blood saga, if you will. Various books. We have the Percy Jackson books. We have the Kane Chronicles books. We have the Heroes of Olympus books. We have the Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard books. We have the Trials of Olympus books. And now we have the Nico and Will D'Angelo. I'm already preparing for their marriage. Will Solace spinoff, The Son of the Star. And we now have another Percy Jackson and the Olympians. So this is actually a sequel trilogy, which takes place at the end of, right after the end of the last Heroes of Olympus book, Blood of Olympus. There's a gap, and then Trials of Apollo starts. So this is the gap between this stuff in regards to what's happening with Percy and Annabeth and Grover, our main trilogy of friends who we were first introduced to 18 years prior when this book came out. Now it's 19 years. I'm recording this in 24. But the first book came out June in 2005. The three of them are doing their adventures, and they're meeting Krusty in Vegas at the hotel at the bed. They're in the Lotus Casino. They what was Krusty's bed store called? Mattress something? I don't remember. They fight Medusa. They are in the underworld fighting Cerberus. They're trying to find the lightning bolt. Who the thief was, being Luke the entire time. So it's been 18 years worth of story for them. And it's a 5-year time difference because they're 17, Annabeth and Percy are seniors in high school, preparing for college. They want to go to New Rome University near Camp Jupiter because older demigods don't get attacked by monsters as much as kids do. So they want to try to live to adulthood to then relax and just be adults. So this trilogy is Percy has to get 3 recommendation letters from gods in order to get into New Rome University because he's not technically supposed to be alive. He wasn't supposed to be born. That's the prophecy of the big 3. One of the kids of the big 3, Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, would be, change the world and all that lovely fighting the Titans stuff that happened at the Battle of Manhattan in the first 5 books. So the story is very quick, 282 pages long. 268 pages? 268 pages. And it's just a fun Manhattan story. They're not having to travel anywhere really. It's just, correction, they have to go to Yonkers at one point. So they do go upstate for a brief moment. But it's stuff like where we have moments in Percy's family's apartment. Sally and his stepdad, Paul Blofus, they announce that they're pregnant. Like, we know Percy has a younger sister, Estelle, in the Trials of Apollo books, but we don't get that family moment. But here we get the family moment of the announcement. And I'm assuming Estelle's going to be born come the end of the 3rd book in this sequel trilogy. I assume. Hasn't been announced yet. But we'll see. The 2nd book comes out end of this year, I believe, fall of 24. So we'll see. But because Percy has to get these recommendation letters, it's a matter of how does he get job offerings, if you will, to do the meaningless tasks for gods and goddesses, minor or major, to get these recommendation letters, because he's not supposed to be alive. And that's the only exception. Everybody else can apply, every other demigod can apply regularly, do their essays, etc. But he needs 3 godly recommendation letters, and the only way to do that is to do quests. So him, Annabeth, and Grover start a quest for Ganymede, the cupbearer of Zeus. Get Ganymede's backstory, tragic backstory that is, how he was just swept away and made immortal because Zeus liked the way he looked. Stuff. So then we eventually have to figure out who stole the chalice. So then it's a matter of, okay, well, was Ganymede the original cupbearer? No. So Hebe was one of the original cupbearers. Iris was one of the original cupbearers. So it's then a matter of going to Hebe's place, which happens to be a wonderful amusement entertainment facility in Times Square. A lot of stuff happens there. Awesome. Then we go to, where do we go? Do we go to Soho? East Village, something to that extent, at a farmer's market to meet Iris, after being reintroduced by her daughter. So that was entertaining. And then eventually we get to this. The quest then leads us to Yonkers to go face Ellison the River God, to clean Iris's staff. And then once the staff is cleaned, Iris gives the name Gary. And who's Gary? And why is he in Washington Square Park? So then they go to Washington Square Park over the course of like 2 weeks. This happens. 3 weeks this happens. Gary turns out to be the god Geras, 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 where the word geriatric comes from, god of old age. And so it's a matter of Percy having to wrestle old age and then accepting, embracing old age, that he's looking forward to being old with Grover and Annabeth on a seaside cottage, just overlooking and enjoying their enchilada lunch. It's cute. So then getting the cup, breaking into Olympus during a brunch to get it back to Ganymede, going back home after getting a recommendation letter, which he then has to fill in himself. It's just very entertaining of how quick this was, because we're used to very long stories in regards to quest brings us here, quest brings us there, quest brings us here. And with the Heroes of Olympus books, we get a lot more characters. We get 8, 9 different main characters, and the perspective of the different 8, 9 main characters, which is an awesome different means of doing it. But it was nice going back to an original Percy book. The nostalgia of the three of them, the three amigos, just having fun together, play the arcade games at heebie-jeebies, but then also, doing the quest and life and death moment stuff and working together. They've been working together for 5 years, story-wise. 18 years in general. Timeline from the 2005 first book, June 2005 first book, to the September 2023, this current book. So it's just neat having the characters back together. It's neat having then a nice, wonderful Percy and Poseidon conversation on the phone. It's neat having a grounded family dynamic for Percy within regards to Paul and his mom and Percy's mom, and then their future child. It's nice to see, having the scenes of them all cooking in the kitchen and breaking garlic bread around the table and laughing about spaghetti and cupcakes and just genuine family moments. No end of the world stuff. It was just a small thing. And that was one of the speeches that Poseidon had given, that, that he's seen Percy, be as strong as tsunamis and tidal waves, but it's the smaller waves that you should keep track of, because they still show power. They can still sweep you off your feet. They can still show the true strength of the ocean. And that was the point, that Percy's done all of these amazing end of world saving things, tidal wave, tsunami, but then it's still relevant to do the smaller wave stuff. And that's what this book was. That's what these books are. These 3 books will be the smaller wave stuff, if you will. That having the 3, 4 different, 5 different gods, interactions within this, having a Manhattan based and then Yonkers based little upstate story is still fine, because it's still powerful. It still shows Percy has zero interest in immortality. And that's what happens if a mortal drinks from the cup of Ganymede, is that they become immortal like he did. And so it's just neat. It's neat having that grounded story. It's not superficial, fantastical adventure like we've seen in the past. And those are great stories. They're wonderful stories, heartbreaking, adventurous, wonderful stories. But sometimes it's also good to have a grounded, tiny wave. You can have your tsunami, you can have your tidal wave, but then you have your small wave. And it all works, because it's all one big ocean. We, not me. Rick's a great writer in regards to that. He always brings in different elements from different cultures, different elements from different backgrounds. He is a very human type of author, person in general, and it's just nice seeing that in his work, and that it's still relevant 18 years later within regards to through his work. So I'm curious what's going to happen in 25. Well, 2025 technically would be the 3rd book of this new trilogy. So then maybe there's something else that will happen after that. I'm curious what happens when Annabeth and Percy graduate graduate college, when they're done with New Rome University, after the events of Trials of Apollo. What happens next? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. I'm very happy to see them eventually be in their 20s, eventually be in their 30s? What if we get decades from now? What if we get book series based on Percy and Annabeth's kid? The stories can continue on forever and ever, and it's just really cool daydreaming about it, much like how Percy daydreams about the future of Annabeth and Grover, all of them being old together, enjoying the sea, enjoying the lunchtime enchiladas. We can do the same thing with our characters. We can daydream what happens next with our wonderful eclectic group of individuals. So, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Chalice of the Gods, 2023 book by Uncle Rick Riordan. Awesome, awesome book. I was about to say film, not a film. Awesome book. On to the next review. Mucho mahalo.